This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
Ruby Franke, a federal lawsuit has now been filed against her, do we still call her partner? Do we call her former lover? Do we call her, what do we call Jodi Hildebrandt exactly?
Very special friend.
Very special friend. Her very special friend who led her astray. So the lawsuit, the federal lawsuit, has been filed against Jodi, Ruby Franke, and their company Connexions Classroom, accusing them of engaging in electronic fraud and promoting child abuse under the guise of coaching and counseling. The lawsuit brought by Michael Tilleman claims that the abuse that was going on of Franke's children was part of a broader scheme spanning nearly 2 decades, affecting thousands of individuals and families. Hildebrandt and Franke are currently in prison after pleading guilty to 4 counts each of aggravated child abuse. Prosecutors described the abuse of Franke's children as concentration camp-like. Because
that's never good, Tony.
Like, what's it like over at Miss Ruby's house? Oh, it's kind of like Auschwitz. It's a lot like that. It's like a little Dachau-ish, with the women subjecting the children to starvation, isolation, and other severe mistreatment. Each was sentenced to 1 to 15 years in prison per charge. We'll get into more of the Connexions Academy, and we're even going to take a little video lesson from Ruby and Jodi from a former video that they put out a long time ago in just a bit, so stay tuned for that. Before her arrest, Franke ran the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, amassing over 2.3 million subscribers. That's no easy feat, and she found a great way to throw it all away. She collaborated with Hildebrandt to produce content for Connexions Classroom, which didn't really have a whole lot of following. But, you know, Jodi kind of convinced her, hey, come over here. I'll help you, even though you have far more followers than I do. I'll help you. Give up your whole thing. Just follow me. I'm in control now. And then we can create this whole new thing. Tell your husband to go away. Yeah. Tell your daughter to go away. Okay, this sounds great. That's kind of how it went. So Jodi uses Ruby to think that she's getting ahead and get people's attention. And I think this is my conjecture of it, that I think she was hot for Ruby the whole time and thought, I'm going to get her. I think there is some of that playing in this. I think we talk about predatory men all the time, like Diddy and such. I think there's a little tinge of that going on with Jodi to a certain extent. Not necessarily child trafficking, but in terms of like, I want this or I want her and I'm going to manipulate her any way I can to get her. That's, I think, part of this. That's my conjecture. It's my allegation. I don't know. There's enough creepy, weird stuff going on, and enough that her daughter wrote about, Sherry, in her new book, that leads you to believe, the brand Connexions Classroom, was what she recruited Ruby to come and help with, the brand that positioned itself as a life coaching and self-improvement service, but allegedly encouraged harmful practices. According to Tillman's lawsuit, Connexions Classroom was a front for a racketeering enterprise that financially exploited clients while promoting abusive parenting techniques. Concepts taught by Hildebrandt and Franke led children to extreme danger, Tillman stated, pointing to the condition of Franke's children at the time of her arrest as evidence of the risks involved. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that was so successful? Not talking about Connexions so much, but I mean, Ruby's style of parenting on the 8 Passengers vlog, the more extreme way of trying to get your point across through cruelty. Why do you think so many parents said, hey, let me sign up for that?
I think, and this is my opinion, but I think, and you and I have talked about this off air, shall we say, at some point, that they kind of sucked people in. They gave them some actual sound parenting advice and a foundation that felt comfortable, that felt reputable, that felt safe, before they started introducing some really off the wall weird shit.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is they pulled people in and had them trusting their instincts so that people's guards were down. And when they started introducing some cruelty, I think there were people out there who maybe just felt so lost in the parenting journey that they said, well, what I've been doing hasn't worked. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're right on. 2 points on it. It feels like it's a lot like Scientology or Nexium or whatever, where the first couple levels, the stuff that's on the surface, the stuff that the public sees and draws people in, it's really not, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it. It's very basic psychology and it's being presented in kind of a different way, but you can walk away from a lot of those first couple of lessons and not be out of your mind. They don't start throwing in, oh, by the way, it was nuclear bombs in a volcano and it destroyed the souls of all these people, and then Thetans came about, and you don't learn about that in Scientology until you get to like level whatever the hell it is, and then you're like, oh, I spend how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to this lovely level, and this is what it is: volcanoes, nuclear bombs. Didn't he write about this in some sort of scientific or science fiction book? Oh, yeah, he did. And then he turned his science fiction into a religion, L. Ron Hubbard. People don't like to self-reflect, especially if that reflection doesn't look very good back at them.
And one more thing to throw into that: when you commit to something, people go all in.
Yeah.
Even if it looks messed up. Take a look at, well, I'm not going political here. It sounds like I am, but I'm not. I'm just touching on basic history. But take a look at Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people who saw what was going on, and they had kind of, I guess, rode the wave for a little while. And at some point, they kind of just go, well, I'm here. I've kind of committed to this. I'm not going to step back. This is where we're headed. And they knew it was wrong, but yet they continued because they bought into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's brainwashing or just not wanting to admit, ooh, I made a mistake.
Sure.
Because it takes a really strong person to say, ooh, I fucked up. I shouldn't be following these edicts.
That's where I wish like more people were more passive. Like there's too much passivity in this world, so I think it's going to be interesting as the younger generation gets older if we're going to see less of that digging into your dumb ideas, or if it's just going to be like, oh, okay, whatever. Because like nobody really seems very dug into any idea when they're young right now. They're all just kind of like, oh, I got a job. I guess I'm supposed to show up.
Right.
Oh, you mean I don't like talking to people. This is a customer service job. So, well, I'm going to do something on my phone. No, it's not okay to do that. Well, I'm going to, I quit. You know, I wish there was, I guess, maybe more of that when it came to like real things that are really important rather than people just digging into stupid ideas. People seem to be very bizarre in what they want to dig into. And I think the other part of it too, as we talked about the Scientology angle and the, getting sucked in angle is, when it comes back to the parenting, I think there's a lot of people that were raised a certain way, in the way that most people don't raise kids today, in a way that was, in fact, abusive, that maybe they don't want to admit was abusive, or that they were abused in some way, shape, or form, because it worked for me. I got through it. I survived it. Good. You deserve that. You got to go through that. It's this weird parenting thing where it's like you want your children to experience the darkness that you went through so they can be just as tough as you, or they can... it's a weird way of thinking. I don't like that way of thinking. It's more like, no, you want to do better so your kids don't have to do it. And the pendulum swings both ways pretty quick, where it's like, we're not going to expose little Junior to anything. And then they come out and they're insane and they can't handle the world. Whereas on the other angle is, we're going to abuse the shit out of them so they're afraid of their own shadow. It's that middle part that's kind of missing. And I think the way that Jodi or Ruby parented harkened back to a different time. And I think that's where you had some of those folks that were going, yeah, I survived that. So what? Where it went too far. And I'm not talking about her emaciating her children. That came later. I'm talking about more so the days of the vlog. And then it just went to such an extreme, because once you're here, you're not just going to stop. You got to keep going here and here. I think eventually they would have started killing the kids. But Yeah, despite all those risks that are involved. Tillman alleges that Hildebrandt and Franke's methods not only harmed Franke's own children, but also destroyed marriages, alienating family members, and put countless other children in danger. He claimed he personally witnessed the effects through his ex-wife, who enthusiastically followed Hildebrandt's teaching for over a decade. A lawsuit alleges that Hildebrandt's influence caused his ex-wife to disregard their now 10-year-old daughter's well-being. Tillman recalled seeing unexplained injuries on his daughter, including dehydration and sunburns, which he now believes could have stemmed from abuse inspired by Connexions' teachings. He referenced Franke's personal journal entries detailing the mistreatment of her own children as further proof of the harmful ideology promoted by the company. Even after Hildebrandt and Franke's convictions, Tillman claims his ex-wife continues to embrace their methods, raising concerns about his daughter's ongoing safety, saying, quote, "She still follows these teachings despite the overwhelming evidence of harm." The 112-page lawsuit details other clients' experiences, highlighting numerous instances in which Hildebrandt faced professional discipline. He argues that Connexions Classroom was designed to brainwash individuals into paying for services that inflicted emotional and psychological distress. Programs and coaching packages reportedly ranged from $5,000 to $15,000, while monthly subscriptions cost $84. The lawsuit claims these high-priced services were part of a scheme to exert control over clients while maximizing financial gain. Tillman alleges that Hildebrandt intentionally targeted vulnerable individuals, convincing women to manufacture marital conflicts and encouraging them to violate court-ordered parental rights. He argues that while Hildebrandt marketed herself as a therapist, she avoided the legal responsibilities of a licensed counselor by branding herself as a life coach. This was a fraud operation playing on individuals in vulnerable positions, a lawsuit states. Tillman is seeking millions of dollars in damages and hopes the lawsuit will bring accountability beyond the criminal convictions of Hildebrandt and Franke. The case adds to the growing scrutiny of so-called life coaching enterprises that operate outside of regulated mental health practices, raising questions about consumer protections in the industry, of which there are none, by the way. So when you're out there and you're going, damn, therapy is expensive, it is. But there are options. If you want to do it online, like BetterHelp, things of that nature, I would encourage that if you're in an area that doesn't have many options, or insurance, because insurance sucks on those sort of things in many cases. So that's what leads people down this path. Well, this person, they're going to sit down and talk with me, and you start kind of reasoning. Well, how much different could it be? I mean, I'm just going to talk about stuff, and it can be quite different, especially if that person has their own agenda that they're trying to steer you into, especially when it means monetary gain, like, hey, get this program, buy my stuff. You see it in a lot of different places. You see it like in the physical health industry, where you go into, the wellness spas, and it's, and then get these vitamins and get this and get our products and you really need this. Did you know that you're deficient on laperclasamine? What's laperclasamine? Oh, it's this thing that it's in your bloods, it's in your veins, it's a toxin, and you want to get it out, and these vitamins will help get the toxins out of your body. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Our body naturally gets rid of the toxins. When it stops, it means you probably have severe liver damage and you're going to die. There's no vitamin that's going to push toxins out of your skin. It's all just, and I'd love to hear from any actual doctor that uses the word toxins in a sentence, because it's not really, it's a fucking junk word that people use out there. Same with the life coaching. There are legitimate ones out there. I will say that, especially if you get specialized into an industry or an area of life that you really want specific help on, but do your homework, because a lot of this is just people who basically really want attention, think their opinion is insanely important. It's all the way to the point of they writing books about it and guides for life, and really want you to follow along. A little culty sometimes. Sometimes it's good ideas. Sometimes it's not. A lot of times it's not. And that's what I think Connexions was ultimately.
Don't forget too, we have kidneys in our body.
Oh,
and
that
the
too.
kidneys actually helps with toxins because our body does produce toxins, and the natural, processes in our body take care of them. So just something to keep in mind that, if somebody is trying to hand you a vitamin saying it's going to fix things, if you're deficient, yes, but that's something you find out through your physician.
Let me rub this stuff on me. It's going to suck the toxins out. Let me put my foot in this bath. Oh my God, you see the toxins coming out of the feet. Hey, by the way, if you ran that bath without your feet in it, it does the same shit. Mm-hmm. It does the same shit. Weird colors come up because it's not toxins in your body. It's toxins in your fucking water that come out of those sort of things. I love the word toxins because it's such a bullshit term.
It's an umbrella term that they use for things that they claim
that they
shouldn't be in your body.
That they can't explain.
I would pay attention to physicians and people with actual licenses.
Yeah. And then if you really look at the fine print, this claim has not been evaluated by the FDA.
Exactly.
Not that that's saying a lot anymore, but still, it's like, you can say that and it doesn't, it's not a medical term. So they're not making a medical claim when you use that sort of thing. Anyway, these two, they just, they're a pair. And they had ways of convincing people to follow along. Let's take a look now at a clip of Ruby and Jodi, one of their Connexions video casts. This feels like a weird combination of a PBS donation drive, an Amway commercial, and I don't know what the other thing is, but it just feels wrong. Let's take a look.
I was a hugely disconnected, selfish, aggressive, neglectful mother.
Entitled.
I wanted my kids to be happy, which AKA translated into, I want my kids to get off my back. Because I want to do what I want to do. I want to be able to go to Target. I want to be able to shop. I want to be able to have a moment of silence where I can just think. It was all about me. And I made my kids responsible for that. I have been full-time. You wonder where I've been on my vlogs? You wonder why I left YouTube? It's to save my kids. No amount of money.
Quick pause here. Again, how many margaritas do you think, or glasses of white Zin were consumed before this shit happened?
Oh, Tony, I think it was a Chardonnay. It was a 2007 Chardonnay, corked, but I still drank it.
Here we go.
And I'm telling you, I was making millions, and I left it because my kids were being hurt with entitlement. They were being hurt with people's advice, and they didn't have a mother up the front saying, I don't care what the world's opinion is. This is the truth, and this is where I stand.
This is the truth. This is where I stand. Your kids were being hurt with entitlement? You were like imprisoning them.
Well, she's the one who was doing all of this.
Yes.
Talk about gaslighting the hell out of people.
Oh my God. Your kids are suffering because of you. It's not because of an audience that was criticizing you. It was because of your behavior.
I'd like to point out, too, because I wanted to go to Target. Oh, dude, honey, you got issues.
I'm all about, I wanted to go to Target. Her immediate translation is, I care about my kids, or I want what's best for them. But no, I just wanted to go to Target. Like, what? Huh? Like, these two don't even, like, really, it's not in the same category of what your concerns are. It just shows the level of narcissism and the way that her mind goes from here to here, where for most of us, it's like, okay. And she's like, whoo, 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 whoo. And now I'm over here, and it's supposed to make sense. Let's continue on.
And fortunately, I had a chance. I had them in my home long enough to do it, and I'm not going to lose them. They're seeing truth. They're accepting truth. They're loving truth.
What is truth, Ruby? I guess that's the seeing. It's like they're getting rid of the toxins. They're seeing truth. Whose truth? What truth? What are we talking about? They mess up and you wrap them up in duct tape and put them in the closet? Is that the truth? Is that your truth, Ruby? Or what are we talking about here?
And so this is my passion, is to invite you to stand in truth and put your opinions to the side for a minute. Because your kids are the target of distortion.
By you!
Target again.
We need you.
Here we go.
We love you. We know what power exists inside you. And we want you to be here. So please, humble yourself. Become curious about what we're saying. If you start getting reactionary, stop yourself and say, stop. Jennifer, stop. Rachel, stop.
Stop.
What are they trying to say?
Crazy
to me?
bitches,
What am I not
stop.
hearing? Why am I want to fight them? That's your distortion.
Why do I want to fight them? Because they're clearly abusing their children. That's why I'd like to fight them. Because it's outrageous what you're doing.
That's what comes up in me. Anytime I want to fight someone, I'm like, stop, Jodi, stop. Why am I getting so reactionary here? Like, there's no threat here. There's no threat. What's going on? The threat that I say is not here, the real threat is inside me.
But wait,
Yeah, it is.
if you call right now, you'll not only get Ruby and Jodi's guide to parenting and how to emaciate your children, we're going to throw in this collector's mug as well. It keeps all of your drinks nice and cold so you can pour that entire box of Franzia right into here before you go and do your videos with Jodi, and it'll still be nice and chilly for you, even
But
when
wait,
you're
if
done.
you call now, we'll throw in a second mug free.
Absolutely free. Give this to a friend and tell them about Connexions Academy. So that's them.
What was she doing that she was earning millions? I'm asking for a friend.
YouTube.
Just videos?
Yeah, she
Parenting
had. Well, I'm
videos?
sure there was like merch and shit too. But if you have 2.3 million subscribers, you make some money that way.
Yeah, but how do you get that many subscribers talking about parenting?
Well, that's the thing. You do. And people, it's how communities form mostly now. And they form in these kind of micro communities. Like 2 million people is still kind of a micro community. It's not like the whole world of parenting thought they or she was doing a good idea. But there were enough that said, there's something about this kid abuse stuff that speaks to me. And maybe not necessarily like on a surface level where like, I want to abuse my kids, but more so just that weird, like I said, that passing down from generation to generation, the cycle of abuse where sometimes in people, it's brought out. It takes a grown-up to go and say, I don't want to repeat that cycle. But a lot of people just go, well, that's what my pappy did and said. It must be good enough. Good enough for them. It's good enough for me. And they feel the world is a little bit too complex beyond that, and it's too much work to really parent without just Neanderthalic parenting by, beating your kids and just having them live in fear. It's too much work, too much thinking. But they put a guise up of making this look like they're really deep thinkers and the truth. And that's what spoke to a lot of people. It was just a bunch of fluff and word salad, and people thought they were really into something deep here. And yeah, look, people are dumb, and that's how they worked. That's how they were able to bring these people in. That's how even after these women are in prison, there's still people going, I really got something good out of that. I'm going to keep parenting this way.
Oh God, I fear for our future generations. If I'm all for looking things up on YouTube. I'm all for, let's see if somebody can teach me something. I had to change the fuse in my car for the cigarette lighter. I couldn't charge my phone anymore. First world problems. Well, I went to YouTube because the owner's manual was jack shit for my car. So I went to YouTube and the person showed me. It was great. I'll never go to that video again, I don't think.
Yeah.
I learned what I needed to learn and I walked away. If I hadn't learned what I needed, if it didn't make sense, I wouldn't have followed their directions. I would think people would be the same way with parenting,
Yeah, no. And they're all, and I think it also plays into every kid is different. So it's hard to, it's not easy. It's not an easy job whatsoever. But again, I think people lean into sometimes it gets so complicated and they'll lean into something that's simplistic. may get you the instant results that you want, may not be ethical, may not be legal, but it will solve your problem right now. And by the time the problems actually occur, well, I'll be long gone, so why should I be worried about that? It's the way a lot of people think. And yeah, that's how that works.
I worry for our future.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.